What if the soul of our nation, our democracy, is hanging by a thread? Picture a future where your vote, your voice, your dreams for a better tomorrow are silenced, not by force, but by the slow, relentless erosion of trust. In 2025, America stands at a breaking point, divided not just by politics, but by a deeper fracture between truth and lies, hope and fear, us and them. This isn't a movie script. It's the reality unfolding before us. The question isn't just whether democracy can survive, it's whether we have the courage to fight for it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will shake you to your core and demand you keep listening. Division is a force as old as humanity itself, carving canyons between hearts and minds. In 2025, that canyon feels like an abyss. One side clings to ideals of progress, equity, a nation reborn. The other defends tradition, stability, a legacy they fear is slipping away. Both claim the mantle of freedom. Both accuse the other of betrayal. Polls paint a grim picture. Only 20% of Americans trust the government to do what's right, a historic low. Social media pours fuel on the fire. Studies show false stories spread 6 times faster than truth, each click widening the gap. We're not just polarized, we're weaponized against each other. This isn't the first time we've faced such a crisis. The Civil War, the Civil Rights era, moments when America teetered on the edge. But 2025 is different. Technology has turned our differences into a battlefield. Algorithms don't just amplify anger, they profit from it. Every post, every video, every hashtag pulls us deeper into our tribes. And yet, we keep scrolling, arguing, believing the next post will prove us right. But what if the real fight isn't against each other, but against the systems tearing us apart? Democracy isn't just a system. It's a promise, a pact to resolve our differences through reason, not rage. When trust crumbles, when every election feels like a war, that promise fades. From school board fights to protests turning violent, the signs are everywhere. In 2024, a single rumor about election fraud sparked chaos in 3 states, leaving communities fractured. This is our reality, a nation on the brink, where survival depends on whether we can rediscover what unites us. The story ahead will unravel the forces at play, the truths we've ignored, and the hope we can still reclaim. Are you ready to face it? Let's step into the heart of this fracture. How did we, a nation built on the idea of unity, become so shattered? The answer lies not just in politics, but in the human need for meaning. In 2025, we're not just voting for policies, we're fighting for stories that define who we are. One side sees a country under siege, its values eroded by change too fast, too reckless. The other sees a nation stuck, clinging to systems that exclude and oppress. Both sides feel they're defending freedom's soul, yet neither trusts the other to share it. This is the paradox tearing us apart. The numbers are stark. A 2025 survey shows 70% of Americans believe the nation is on the wrong path, despair that crosses party lines. Yet, hidden in the data is a flicker of hope. 80% agree on core needs: better healthcare, safer communities, honest leaders. So why does it feel like we're enemies? The machinery of division is relentless. Media thrives on conflict, with outlets framing every issue as us versus them. Political ads, $6 billion spent in 2024, mostly on attacks, don't inspire, they incite. Social media algorithms amplify this, prioritizing outrage over understanding, with studies showing divisive posts get 30% more shares. Let's ground this in a story. In a small town last year, a debate over a local policy spiraled. It started with a post online, a claim about school funding cuts. False, but viral. Within hours, neighbors were at war, shouting at a town hall. Friendships broken. Police were called, not to arrest, but to separate. This wasn't just about money, it was about trust, or its absence. When we can't agree on facts, how do we agree on a future? This scene repeats across America, from boardrooms to backyards. Each clash a symptom of a deeper wound. That wound is fueled by systems that profit from our anger. Platforms don't just host our debates, they shape them, rewarding rage with clicks. Politicians, too, lean into fear. knowing it wins votes. But here's the question. What if we refused to play? What if we demanded better platforms that elevate truth, leaders who bridge divides? In 2025, small experiments are emerging. Community forums where people listen, not lecture. These aren't headlines, but they're lifelines. Can we scale them before the divide swallows us? The stakes are clear. Democracy demands trust, not just in institutions, but in each other. Without it, 2025 could mark the moment we lose our way. But there's a path forward. One we'll uncover as this story unfolds. It's not about winning, it's about surviving together. What comes next will challenge everything you think you know. Now, let's confront the shadow looming larger in 2025. What happens when a nation stops believing in itself? The divide isn't just about politics. It's about the stories we tell, the truths we hold, the futures we fear. Picture two neighbors, once friends, now strangers. One's yard boasts a sign for change, the other for tradition. They used to share laughter over fences. Now, silence builds walls. A single post online, a jab, a meme, a half-truth ignited this rift. This isn't fiction. It's America today, where division turns allies into adversaries. The data underscores the crisis. A recent poll shows 65% of Americans see the other side, not just as wrong, but as a threat to the nation's survival. Trust in media is a mere 15%, with only 12% of Republicans and 54% of Democrats believing what they read, per Gallup. Social media doesn't bridge this. It widens it. Studies reveal we're 6 times more likely to share anger than hope, each click feeding algorithms that profit from our fury. In 2025, our screens aren't windows to the world. They're mirrors, reflecting our worst instincts. But let's zoom in on a moment that crystallizes this. Last year, a city council meeting in a southern town erupted over a proposed law. One side called it progress, the other overreach. Shouts drowned out reason, friendships frayed. By night's end, families left divided, not by policy, but by distrust. This wasn't about one law. It was about a nation losing its ability to talk. When every disagreement feels like a battle for existence, democracy becomes a casualty. The question is, how did we let it get this far? The answer lies in power's playbook. Those at the top, politicians, influencers, corporations, thrive when we're distracted. Campaign spending hit $7 billion in 2024, with 80% fueling attack ads, not solutions. Fear sells and we're buying. But what if we stopped? What if we demanded leaders who unite? Platforms that reward truth. In 2025, glimmers of this exist. Grassroots groups hosting dialogues, citizens fact-checking before sharing. These aren't loud, but they're powerful. They remind us democracy isn't just votes, it's the courage to connect. This courage is our lifeline. Without it, 2025 could see elections disputed, streets erupting, trust evaporating. But with it, we can rewrite the story. Imagine those neighbors sitting down, not to win, but to understand. It's hard, but it's possible. History proves it. Nations have healed from worse. The question is, will we choose this path? Or let division define us? The next chapter holds a truth that might change how you see everything. Let's pull back the curtain on a truth we can't ignore. Division is not just a flaw in our system. It's a weapon wielded against us. In 2025, the forces splitting America profit from our chaos. Social media platforms designed to connect now orchestrate conflict. Studies show divisive content generates 30% more engagement than unifying messages. Anger keeps us scrolling, and scrolling keeps them rich. Politicians, too, play this game, with $7 billion spent in 2024 elections, 80% on ads that vilify, not inspire. This isn't politics. It's a machine built to break us. Consider a real story from last year. In a Rust Belt town, a factory closure sparked protests. One side blamed global trade, the other local greed. Online, the debate exploded. Misinformation about foreign takeovers went viral, shared by thousands in hours. By the time the truth emerged, just a business decision, the town was fractured. Families stopped speaking. Protests turned violent. This wasn't just about jobs. It was about trust, weaponized by half-truths and amplified by algorithms. In 2025, these sparks ignite daily, threatening to burn down our democratic foundations. But why does this matter so deeply? Because democracy thrives on shared reality. When truth becomes optional, when every fact is a fight, we lose the ability to govern ourselves. Polls show 60% of Americans have shared false information unknowingly, fueling distrust. The divide isn't just about ideas, it's about power. Those at the top benefit when we're distracted, fighting each other instead of questioning them. The question is, can we break free from this cycle before it's too late? History offers warnings. Ancient Rome's republic fell when factions prioritized power over unity, citizens turning on citizens. In 2025, we're not far off. A recent survey found 40% of Americans justify political violence in extreme cases, a chilling echo of collapsing societies. Yet, history also offers hope. After South Africa's apartheid, dialogue and truth commissions rebuilt a nation on the brink. Here, small efforts are emerging. Community forums where people listen, not shout. Citizens pushing for media literacy to combat lies. These are seeds of survival, but they need us to grow them. The stakes in 2025 are nothing less than our democracy's soul. If we let division win, we risk elections disputed, institutions eroded, freedom reduced to a slogan. But if we choose connection over fear, over anger, we can reclaim our power. Imagine a nation where truth matters more than clicks, where we see each other as allies, not enemies. The path is steep, but it's ours to take. What comes next will reveal a truth that could redefine our future. Now, let's face a truth that cuts deeper. The divide in 2025 isn't just tearing us apart, it's being engineered to keep us weak. Power thrives when we're distracted. When neighbors become enemies over a single post, the data is undeniable. Platforms profit from our rage, with studies showing polarizing content spreads 30% faster than neutral stories. In 2024, political campaigns spent $7 billion, 80% on ads that didn't build bridges, but burned them. This isn't chaos by chance, it's designed to keep us fighting, not thinking. Let's ground this in a story that haunts. In a coastal city last year, a school board vote on curriculum sparked a firestorm. One side called it inclusivity, the other, indoctrination. Online, misinformation exploded. A viral claim about radical teachings fueled protests. By the meeting's end, parents who once carpooled were screaming. Friendships shattered. The truth? The curriculum was standard, but the lie had already won. In 2025, these battles aren't rare, they're routine. Each one eroding the trust democracy needs to breathe. When we can't agree on what's taught to our kids, how do we agree on who we are? This erosion has a cost. Polls show 65% of Americans now view the other side as a threat to the nation's survival, not just a rival. Trust in elections, once a bedrock, hovers at 30%, with 40% open to justifying violence in extreme cases. These numbers aren't just stats. They're a warning of a democracy on the edge. The forces dividing us, media, algorithms, power-hungry leaders, know that a fractured people don't demand accountability. They argue instead, leaving power unchecked. But what if we stopped playing their game? Hope lies in what's possible. In 2025, small acts of defiance are emerging. Communities in swing states are hosting dialogue circles. No cameras, just people sharing stories of loss, hope, fear. One group in Ohio saw a union worker and a small business owner find common ground on economic fairness. These moments aren't loud, but they're powerful. They remind us, democracy isn't just votes, it's the courage to see humanity in others. History shows it's possible. Germany rebuilt after division, South Africa reconciled after pain. Can we do the same? The question burns. Will we let 2025 be the year division wins, or the year we reclaim our power? The answer lies not in Washington, but in us. Our choices, our conversations, our will to seek truth. The stakes are rising, and the next truth might shock you into action. Stay with me, because what's coming could change how you see our future. As we stand in 2025, a hidden truth emerges from the chaos. Beneath our divisions, there's a shared hunger for something better. Despite the noise, polls reveal 80% of Americans agree on core needs: fair jobs, clean air, honest elections. Yet we're trapped in a cycle where differences drown out unity. Why? Because admitting common ground feels like surrender in a world that rewards rage. But what if this shared longing is our greatest weapon? What if it's the key to saving our democracy? Let's bring this to life. In a Midwest town last year, a group of strangers, split by politics, sat down for a radical experiment. No arguing, just listening. A teacher spoke of struggling to afford rent. A farmer shared fears of losing his land. They didn't solve the world's problems, but they saw each other's humanity. In the end, they weren't foes, they were neighbors. In 2025, these small acts are spreading. Quiet revolutions against division. From California to Pennsylvania, dialogue circles are proving we can talk without tearing apart. But can we scale this before it's too late? The barriers are real. Power resists unity. It thrives on our fractures. Political ads, $7 billion strong in 2024, didn't just attack opponents, they attacked trust itself. Social media amplifies this, with algorithms pushing divisive posts 30% harder than unifying ones. On X, users lament how echo chambers turn debates into wars, one noting that 73% of voters fear democracy's collapse per a recent poll. Another warns of plans like Project 2025, which could reshape elections and agencies, consolidating power. These aren't just policies, they're threats to the freedom we cherish. Here's the urgent question: can we reclaim truth as our foundation? In 2025, misinformation is a weapon, with 60% of us sharing lies without knowing, per studies. Fact-checking cuts this by half, yet few do it. Democracy needs truth like lungs need air. Without it, we suffocate. But there's hope. Communities are pushing media literacy, demanding platforms prioritize facts. Imagine a world where we verify before we vilify, where leaders are held to account, not applause. It's not a dream, it's a choice. The clock is ticking. Elections loom, and 2025 could tip us toward chaos or renewal. If we stay divided, we risk a future where power overrides people. But if we bridge this gap, we can rewrite the story. Picture a nation where dialogue replaces shouting, where truth outshines lies. The power is ours, not in distant capitals, but in our hands, our hearts, our will. The next revelation will hit harder, shaking the very ground we stand on. Stay with me. The storm is gathering in 2025, and the data screams a truth we can't ignore. Our democracy is fracturing under the weight of distrust. Recent polls paint a stark picture. Trust in government has plummeted to 22% per Pew Research, with only 15% confident in media. Party lines carve deep wounds. 54% of Democrats trust news sources, but only 12% of Republicans do, per Gallup. This isn't just disagreement, it's a crisis of faith. On X, voices cry out. One user warns that 73% of voters, per a Civil Rights Monitor poll, fear democracy's collapse. Another laments how algorithms turn neighbors foe, fueling a divide that feels like war. But here's the surprising twist: we're not as divided as we think. An NPR poll from July reveals 89% of Democrats, 80% of independents, and 57% of Republicans see a threat to democracy itself. This isn't division. It's a shared alarm, a pulse of unity beneath the chaos. Yet, our stories clash. One side fears a nation slipping into chaos. The other, a nation clinging to injustice. Both crave stability, but distrust poisons the well. A post on X captures it. Republicans cheer markets at 62%. Democrats despair at 61%. Seeing the same economy through fractured lenses. Let's ground this in a moment that stings. Last year, a protest over voting laws in a swing state turned ugly. Misinformation spread online, claiming fraud where none existed. Thousands rallied, families split, and a community fractured, not over facts, but over feelings of betrayal. In 2025, these flashpoints multiply, with 40% of Americans, per polls, open to justifying political violence in extremes. This isn't just anger, it's a warning of a democracy teetering, where power exploits our fears to tighten its grip. Yet, hope flickers in the shadows. Across America, ordinary people are fighting back, not with shouts, but with conversations. In a Texas town, a dialogue group brought together teachers, farmers, and retirees. They didn't agree, but they listened, finding common ground in wanting fair schools and safe streets. The stakes are climbing. Plans like Project 2025, dissected on X as a blueprint to reshape elections and agencies, loom as threats to freedom. The question isn't just political, it's human. Will we let fear define us, or seize this moment to rebuild? The climax approaches, and the next truth will shake you to your core. Stay with me, because what's coming could redefine our fight for survival. The clock is ticking in 2025, and the truth hits like a thunderclap. Our democracy is not just at risk, it's under siege. Fresh data paints a chilling scene. Only 22% trust the government, per Pew, while confidence in elections teeters at 30%. Gallup shows a stark divide. 54% of Democrats trust media, but only 12% of Republicans do. On X, the alarm bells ring louder. One user cites a poll where 73% fear democracy's collapse. Another warns of plans like Project 2025, a blueprint to overhaul agencies and voting, consolidating power in ways that echo authoritarianism. This isn't abstract. It's personal. Last year, a rural county's election dispute spiraled when online claims of stolen votes went viral, despite no evidence. Protests erupted, neighbors turned on neighbors, and trust in the process crumbled. In 2025, these fractures multiply. Of Americans, per surveys, now justify political violence in extreme cases. This isn't dissent, it's a democracy unraveling, where fear is weaponized and truth is the first casualty. Algorithms amplify this, pushing divisive posts 30% harder than unifying ones, profiting from our anger. But here's the urgent revelation: we're not powerless. Beneath the chaos, a shared pulse beats. 80% of us, per NPR, agree on fair elections, better jobs, safer streets. Yet power thrives on our division. Political ads, $7 billion in 2024, didn't unite us. They vilified. On X, users dissect how echo chambers turn debates into wars. One noting 61% disapprove of key policies like tariffs. This shared discontent is our opening, if we seize it. The question is, can we turn fear into fuel for change? Hope is rising, quietly but fiercely. In 2025, communities are fighting back. In a Georgia town, a dialogue group brought together veterans, teachers, and shop owners. They shared stories, not of politics, but of struggles, debt, loss, hope. They found common ground, not in ideology, but in humanity. These efforts, echoed in history's triumphs like South Africa's reconciliation, show what's possible. We can demand platforms prioritize truth, leaders bridge gaps, citizens fact-check before sharing. The climax is here. 2025 could be democracy's breaking point. Disputed elections, eroded freedoms, a nation unrecognizable. Or it could be our awakening, where we choose truth over lies, humanity over hate. The power isn't in capitals or algorithms. It's in us, in every conversation, every choice to listen. The stakes are eternal. Will we let fear win, or forge a future where freedom thrives? One final truth awaits, one that could move you to tears or triumph. Stay with me, because what's next will demand everything you've got. Here we stand, in the crucible of 2025, where the soul of our democracy trembles. The truth is stark. Our nation is not promised forever. It's a fragile pact, tested by division, distrust, and the shadow of power. Pew's latest data chills. 22% trust the government. 30% believe in elections. On X, voices scream. 73% fear democracy's collapse, per polls, while plans like Project 2025 threaten to reshape freedom itself. But in this storm, a final truth burns bright. We are not powerless. We hold the pen to write our future. Picture those neighbors, divided by signs and silence. Imagine them crossing that line, not to argue, but to share coffee, stories, pain. This is happening now, in quiet corners of America. In Michigan, a dialogue group, truckers, teachers, parents, found unity in shared dreams, fair wages, safe schools. These aren't headlines, they're lifelines. History whispers hope. South Africa reconciled. Germany rebuilt. In 2025, we can too. If we choose courage over chaos, truth over lies. The cost of failure is clear. If we let division win, 2025 could see elections disputed, streets burning, freedom fading. Polls warn 40% justify violence in extremes. Ex-posts lament tariffs splitting communities, but the power is ours. We can demand platforms amplify facts, not fear. Studies show fact-checking cuts misinformation by 50%. We can hold leaders accountable, not applaud their attacks. We can listen, not shout, building bridges where walls now stand. This is our vow, to fight for a democracy where every voice matters, where truth outshines outrage. It starts small, with a conversation, a fact-checked, a hand extended. Share this with someone you disagree with. Ask their story, not their stance. In 2025, these acts are revolutionary. They rewrite a story not of collapse, but of triumph. A nation where we the people means all of us, united by hope, not torn by hate. As the sun sets on this pivotal year, let's choose a future that echoes through time. Let's reject the machinery of division, the lies that blind, the fear that binds. Let's write a legacy of freedom, truth, and survival. A democracy reborn, not in anger, but in love for what we can be. The choice is yours. Now, in this moment, will you fight for it? Share this message. Start that talk. Be the change. Together, we can save our democracy. Together, we will.